Now that we've done some custom functions called UDFs or user-defined functions, now let's show you a few that are built in. You're familiar with them already probably because there's things like equals sum or equals ran between or equals weekday or equals PMT for calculating amortization payments and things like this. Well, you're familiar with those when you use the equals sign, right? But if you hit Alt F11, I'm going to show you there's also something called a worksheet function that you can access in VBA, so you don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to use the evaluate function, which we'll be talking about very shortly. Let's just show you some built-in functions. So we're going to create a new sub called sub space built-in. That's good enough. So let's scroll down here and just look at some of the built-in functions. And really, you're probably already familiar with them, so that's the thing. I'm going to show you how you can access them and throw the answer into a variable or message or however you want to use them. In this case, we'll just pretend that we wanted to get a variable. So in this case, we're going to try to get a random number between, let's say, 1 and 1,000, okay? So we're going to say myvar equals, and here's where we do it. We start by saying it. By the way, you don't have to use application dot, but I find that if I type application dot, I really love the IntelliSense, which is this drop-down thing here. And so I really like that a lot better than typing worksheet function dot. It's just a preference thing. But if you do application dot WORKF, or excuse me, WORKS, you can then hit tab or hit the space bar or hit your period. So I would do application.works dot, and that'll automatically fill in the worksheet function word, and it'll automatically put the dot, which puts the IntelliSense. So let's just show you how I do it, which is, I think, pretty quick. Application dot WORKS dot, and there you have application.worksheet function. Here's all the normal worksheet functions that are usually available with the equals sign, and now those are available to you and at your disposal. So let's just do a couple here like I promised, where we're going to do a rand between. So then I hit tab. If I was being efficient, I probably would have hit my parentheses, which would have auto spelled the word and thrown the parentheses. But anyway, so let's say argument 1. This one, it doesn't really tell you as much into screen or tooltip texts here. These are not as informative as if you're typing equals rand between in a cell. But anyway, we know this particular function. We know this one by heart, right? So what's the starting number? 1, comma, and then between 1, comma, and 1,000, right? So there you have it. If I hit F8 to kind of step through the code a little bit, we're now asking it to give us a number between 1 and 1,000. If I hit F8, it has done so. It's 777. If I run it again with F8, 430, and etc. 347. So that worked. I'm just giving you one more example really quick. Let's comment this one out by hitting the apostrophe, and that means that that line of code will no longer run until I uncomment it out. So let's just do another example. My var2 is going to be equal to, let's see if I can spell this correctly. Nope. Application.worksheet function dot. In this case, we're going to do weekday. So this returns either 1 through 7. So every date and time essentially is either a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, right? So let's just throw a date in there. Now you can tell it that this is a date by simply putting the pound sign before and after it. If you didn't want to do that, you could format it into a different variable or something like this. But I just like to cheat and put the pound sign right there, and now you can directly input 1. Anyway, the other argument I think has to do with whether you want the number 1 to represent Sunday or Monday if you want Monday to be the first day of the week. But in this case, the default is that Sunday is the number 1 and Saturday is the 7th day of the week. That's the weekday function. So let's see what it turned out, what this date and time is. So this is, let's see, December 13th of 1986, and let's see what day that was. So that is a 7. That means that I was born on a Saturday. Well, how about that? Now let's throw a different date in there just to make sure that we're doing it correctly. So let's do pound sign. Let's do 0101 2000, the year 2000. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and throw that back up here. And so, okay, Y2K virus is spreading like crazy. If we run this date, maybe my computer will explode. But let's see what day of the week that was, okay? That was also a Saturday. Interesting. So anyway, that's the worksheet function dot weekday. And obviously, you probably know how to use all the worksheet functions. But now you know how to use them using VBA as well as typing the equal sign in a worksheet. So I have just armed you with an arsenal of cool things that you can do in VBA. So we'll see you in the next lecture, and I hope you really enjoy. By the way, the next 2 or 3 lectures, we're going to be using information that was originally done in a workbook called Functions in VBA.xlsm. But don't worry about that. We're going to throw all those worksheets into this workbook, so you don't have to worry about that. Even though on the video, which is a pre-recorded session, we were using that would be the workbook name that you might see at the top of the screen. Don't worry about that. We're going to stick with this workbook, O2-Digging Deeper. Okay? We'll see you in the next lecture.